comment down below, when did your fragrance journey start? Because for me, it's been there for a really long time. Like ever since I was a little girl and I was obsessed with the fragrances that I would find in people's bathrooms. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Charlotte. If you're new here, I do lots of videos on fragrance and beauty, and I'm basically obsessed with both of those things. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, definitely subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And like the video if you like this kind of video. It lets me know that you like this kind of video and I'll make more in the future. So today I'm going to share with you all about blind buying. What is blind buying? How should you go about it? Why should you do it? Or why really? Basically we have to, right? And how to go about it, whether you're new to perfume, you have a new nose, whether you're a seasoned fragrance enthusiast, let me know. Are you new to perfume? How long have you been obsessed with perfume? Did you just start getting obsessed? I know there was a huge boom in perfume this year. It was huge. You can go look on Fragrantica and like look at the interest. Like there's a graph there, and I've been following Fragrantica since the early 2000s or like mid 2000s, so the pandemic did something to people and with perfumes. And I was thinking, you know, why did we go for perfume this year? And I think a lot of it, like of course some of the obvious stuff is just consumerist stuff, you know, like a lot of people were stuck at home and a lot of people's habits changed. Like I know I've heard from a lot of people that they went from wearing a lot of makeup, for example, to no makeup at all. So their consuming so consumption habits changed too in that regard. I think people still wanted to treat themselves, people still wanted to feel good, people still wanted to escape through online shopping, and fragrance boomed because of it since March. So again, like I said, if you look at on Fragrantica at the interests, they spiked and peaked in last March 2020, and that's when you know, the whole sort of Western world sort of went on lockdown, and the rest is history in the fragrance world. If you ask me, I really think something is going on, something is happening, something is going on. And I am happy to be part of it. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to finally not feel like a weirdo with all my fragrances and being obsessed with scents. Fragrance weirdos unite together. No, for real. Like I know it's not at all realistic, especially not right now with the pandemic and everything, but I wish we could all just be together sniffing fragrances together, you know. I don't know. You know what I mean? Comment down below, when did your fragrance journey start? Because for me, now looking back, I'm like, okay, it's been there for a really long time. Like ever since I was a little girl and I was obsessed with, you know, the fragrances that I would find in people's bathrooms. but it's always something that I kind of like tried to control or try to hide or tried to like, I don't know, or tried to minimize rather than pursue it full on as a passion. But I guess probably around 10 years ago is when I started really building my fragrance wardrobe or collection. It's always been a very private part of me, and it's funny because I just realized the other day on my private Instagram page, one of my first posts in 2013 or 14 was just me sharing my fragrance collection. And so I tried to do like fragrance at the beginning, but like I just, you know, anyway, that was just kind of funny to see those posts, and just made me realize how this makes sense, you know, that this is what my channel is about, and that I'm just really happy to be able to pursue this passion with you guys. And I just want this to be a really fun, inspiring exploration of our senses together. And I think perfume and fragrance is so amazing because it evokes everything that it is to be human. And so I am a highly sensitive person. I am an INFJ. I think I'm only mentioning this because one of you just went out and guessed that I was an INFJ, and a few of you are INFJs or INFPs. So I think for us, everything that's being experienced through the senses is just, I think easily we can become obsessed with. Now I understand why some people are obsessed with wines, for example. And I'm like, I like wine, and I can now detect different nuances and all of that, but it's not like something I'm obsessed with or super passionate about, you know what I mean? But I do feel that way about fragrance. and it's limitless. My passion for fragrance is limitless.
The limit does not exist. The limit does not exist.
So this year is a really relevant year for fragrance to be booming because we were all alone. We wanted to feel that sense of touch that we didn't have with people. We didn't see people. And I think fragrance definitely is like, scent is almost like the next best thing to touch. Obviously there's other senses too. You could be eating. A lot of us ate ourselves a few pounds heavier this year, myself included. So, you know, senses, all kinds. But I think fragrance makes sense. That's really relevant right now at a time in a lot of people's lives, and collectively we're experiencing trauma, but also revolutions on all fronts. It's a really incredible time in history right now for so many reasons, and we're just at the beginning. So I think fragrance is just so powerful at this time specifically. I think there's something very powerful about it, and I also think that fragrance is a way to ground yourself in the present, here in the real world, when for a lot of us increasingly we're living our lives online or through the camera. And yeah, so those are just some of my thoughts about why fragrance is becoming more relevant and why it kind of boomed this year. And there's other reasons, I'm sure. And please drop your comments down below. In the comments down below, please let me know what else you think might play into it, because by no means is the fragrance community new or anything, but it's definitely, I think we can all admit, grown this year, and it's going to continue to grow. Yeah, and I'm excited about it. So in this video, I want to share with you what I recommend you start with, not in terms of like what fragrance, but just what your first move should be, basically, in general. If you're new to perfume, according to me, of course. So if that sounds good to you, stay tuned for that. And yeah, so this is the start of a new little series I want to do that's going to be kind of like my blind buying guide. And before we get into it, I want to start with, well, first of all, what is a blind buy? What constitutes blind buy, I guess. Blind buying is the phenomenon of buying a fragrance without actually smelling it. For some people, it means actually not even knowing the notes or anything. To me, that's just reckless, or okay, you could do that, but that's not my kind of blind buying. For me, a blind buy is where you carefully, meticulously research the fragrance and taking into account your own experience with the notes in it and your own sort of creative vision in your mind. And that's the whole fun of it, I think, too. You kind of imagine what it might smell like, and then you buy it, and then you find out if it actually smells like that or not, or if it's good or not. And a lot of times you may find something that you don't like. Sometimes you will find things you love, and sometimes you'll find things that are just completely surprising. And for that reason, it's very rare that I don't enjoy a blind buy. I'll be honest, because there's always some kind of value in it for me. And also, of course, fragrance, unlike the popular myth, it does not go bad. If you keep it out of direct sunlight and out of light, keep it in a cool, dry place, it's not going to go bad. And very rarely would it go bad, and you can always resell it if you don't like it. It stays, the market value is there. You can always resell it, unlike things like makeup or something, you know what I mean, that have an expiry date. So first off, I want to talk about the concept of a safe blind buy and what that is. So I think there's two different versions of what constitutes a safe blind buy. So the first is the blind buy that is a safe blind buy in the sense that it's mass pleasing and most likely to not offend. This is great if you're new to perfume. So maybe if you have no idea what you like, right? So if you have no idea what you like, go for something that has a wide following, or that a lot of people seem to like. Start with that, or at least start smelling something like that to even just see, oh, okay, because a lot of blind buying is kind of comparing your own tastes with other people's and starting to understand other people's tastes, understand yours, if that makes sense. So yeah, if you're new to perfume, if you are unsure about notes and you're still trying to find out what you like, maybe also you just prefer all around versatile scents, then it makes sense to have that kind of safe blind buy. And then finally, maybe you're looking to buy a gift for someone that, well, some people would say never buy fragrance for someone, but I would actually say, I'm personally, I find so much joy in gifting someone a fragrance, giving them the joy and experience of fragrance. Obviously, there are definitely people I would never gift fragrance to, and yeah, but when you gift someone a fragrance, a lot of times you don't necessarily know exactly what they like, and so maybe you want to go for something that's more widely, universally enjoyed. That makes sense. That's that kind of safe blind buy, the mass-pleasing safe blind buy. That's one kind of safe blind buy that to me is useful, but it's not very useful if you are trying to sharpen your nose, get to know your own tastes, and also get to know what you really like. And also because I would hope that you don't just wear things because it's not going to offend other people and it's most likely to please. I would hope that, you know, yes, we all have sense like that, but I would hope that for yourself, you are eager to find out what you truly like. You know what I mean? You don't have to wear it when you're around a bunch of people, but I do think that that it's a wonderful thing to do, to try to find out what your actual personal tastes are. So that segues to my second safe blind buy, and the one that I find more interesting because it's more nuanced and requires some videos to come. It's the blind buy that necessitates a little bit more education and discernment on your part before buying, you know, in the sense that you need to be able to have all of this stacked up experience maybe before of figuring out what different notes are, or chords smell like, or different sorts of adjectives are used to describe fragrances. Maybe if that all sounds like nothing to you, that you're not there yet, but if that's starting to make sense to you, that's information to use to help you make a successful blind buy, which is what the point of these videos is going to be, because this second sort of safe blind buying way is also much more likely to lead to a very successful blind buy than the first. So before I finish up the first video in this installment, I want to start by sharing with you some notes that are notoriously polarizing that I would consider generally are not known as being safe. So for the first category, that's like the safe blind buy, so like mass pleasers, or like if you're gifting something to someone and you don't know their tastes at all. These are notoriously polarizing notes, and again, take this with a grain of salt because these are also very widely used notes, so it could totally be totally inoffensive to a lot of people, but these are also the notes that some people just can't tolerate in fragrances. So we have patchouli. Sometimes it can be very earthy, sometimes it can be a bit more spicy and sharp, sometimes it's fuzzy, but it's also what grounds the fragrance and also makes a fragrance last longer. It's a very long-lasting note. Spices are often used in fragrances, and spices can be very polarizing. Some spices I can think of: allspice, cumin, nutmeg. Not everyone likes those spices. Another one is licorice. So licorice is used in a lot of really rich, yummy gourmand scents, but it's also the exact note that a lot of people, or some people, cannot stand, and that makes it or breaks it for them. So I do know that. So I think licorice has it can be a little bit sharp for some, or I guess bitter would be the word, right? But I find it really, really nice when it's with those rich grounding accords of like vanilla, musk, tonka bean, anything like that. Like, what were we talking about again? Yeah, licorice with vanilla or coumarin or tonka bean, like those are some great scents and great combinations. Some florals can be difficult for some people, so some people have trouble with frangipani, even though some people are also obsessed with some of these, right? So some people are also obsessed with frangipani. Frangipani is always in those very like summery sort of scents. It's very tropical, buttery, yellow floral. Or ylang ylang too is another yellow floral that I've heard some people don't always love. I think it can also have a sort of banana-y smell or scent to it, which is also what I like about it, but some people don't like that about it too. There's also jasmine, can be sharp for some at times. A lot of white frills for some people can be too sharp. Tuberose especially I think can be too sharp for some and screechy. And of course musk, civet, ambergris, all those animalic sort of notes are always sort of, they're definitely less present in modern fragrances, but they are also what adds character, sexiness, and depth to a lot of fragrances, and a lot of mystery, and a lot of the more traditional fragrances rely on animalic notes for that. Yeah, so don't be shy, don't be scared of them, but they are polarizing. And animalic notes can smell, you know, it can go all kinds of ways. It can smell like, some people say like cat urine, which just means very concentrated urine, which is pretty terrible, right? Fecal, feces, it can smell a little bit, can smell like bad breath, halitosis, all those kinds of scents. That's like when it goes bad, funky, right? But when it's nice and you enjoy it, it can also be incredibly alluring, incredibly natural smelling and sexy and warming, and I think very, it adds that je ne sais quoi to a fragrance. Absolutely. I think so. I think sometimes it adds that magic to the fragrance, for sure. And finally, I would say there's aldehydes, and aldehydes I'm less familiar with, though I'm very familiar with them in the sense that like I know exactly what they smell like right away. They're very sparkling and sharp and bright, and right away just remind me of like fragrances that are 30, 40, 50 years old and more. Chanel No. 5 is definitely an aldehyde. The aldehyde winner is the fragrance that brought aldehydes to the masses. And yeah, it's not really my type of fragrance, and for a lot of people, especially now, it's not considered a very modern sort of note, but a lot of people like it, and I myself am learning to be more open to aldehydes. So I don't think we should be afraid of them, but it is worth noting that aldehydes and aldehydic fragrances are very off-putting to some people, and even myself, I will think twice before picking up an aldehydic fragrance. So there you go. Other ones that I can think of are like leather, which again falls into the animalic notes. And again, other words for leather, okay, will be suede, labdanum. And by saying other words for, I just mean they can have leathery nuances. So if you don't like leather, other words for leather are labdanum, apricot, sometimes osmanthus, suede. I'm sure there's more. Let me know down below. But anyway, so yeah, that's to start off with. That's the first video. And also, generally speaking, when fragrances generally are categorized to the masses as more feminine or more masculine, there tend to be, obviously everyone can wear whatever fragrance they want, and I encourage you to explore and not stick to whatever gender category a fragrance is confined to or is marketed towards. But generally speaking, what's considered more feminine is more floral, more sweet, and what's considered more masculine a lot of the times, less sweet, more aromatic, maybe more woody, more bitterness. It's interesting because I'm gonna do because one of the most, and maybe that's why these fragrances are having a moment right now and they're so cool, but I was gonna say if I could think of like one note that represents the masculine and the feminine notes, I would pick rose for feminine and oud for masculine, and then I was like, that's one of the most popular combinations, rose oud. So there you go. I think that that's very telling, and a rose oud combination right now is just one of the most on trend scents ever right now, and I think it's a very androgynous, amazing unisex combination. There's so many variations of it. I have a video coming out, if it's not already out, comparing Oud Vanille and Oud, which are two very similar vanilla ouds. Similar, but anyway, Oud Vanille doesn't have rose, but Oud is a rose oud, like we were talking about, and they're having a moment right now, or they've been having a moment. And anyway, that was a little tangent there, but you guys, this was a lot in one video. I hope this was okay, but basically I'm really excited about this new series. The next one I have planned for you is going to be all about lactonic scents and what to look out for if you want lactonic scents, what to look out for if you don't want lactonic scents, what to look for if you want a very specific kind of creamy scent. So I'm going to show you combinations of notes that are really good for electronic scents and all of that. So please let me know down below if that sounds like something you're into, and also let me know down below what kind of other accord you would like for me to explore, because this is going to be the lactonic one, the next one. But I would really like, and I think some of you know by now that I really like lactonic scents, so it makes sense. I have very like specific opinions about that accord. Let me know which one you'd like for me to do next. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel before leaving, and I want to hear from you guys too down in the comments below, because honestly I know what I know about my experiences, but I know that you guys are going to have your own thoughts and opinions in response to what I'm saying, and I want to hear them down below, and I want other people to hear your opinions down below, okay? Because it's so important. We all need to be creating this. I love that sometimes I'll create a video and I'm like, oh great, people thought that was really useful, it was great. But then I'm like, wow, the comments though down below bring the usefulness to a whole new level. Let me know down below again why fragrance became important to you, or why fragrance was especially important to you this year. I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Please take care of yourself. I will see you very soon. Bye.